it's been really curated to inspire, educate, inform. And we're starting with this fireside chat with two incredible leaders. Jyoti I've known for a long while, and so also Tony. Jyoti's had a tremendous career and is currently the Chief People, Inclusion, and Sustainability Officer with MGM Resorts International. And Tony, of course, well-known senior executive with IBM and has played several roles and seen the whole transformation of that organization. So I'd like to start with maybe a little bit about your background and what do you see challenging, promising in your role.
Thank you, Anupam, and it's so great to be here with all of you. What a fantastic opportunity to talk about disruptive innovation. A little bit about my background. I actually began my career at the United Nations, like Artie, spent a number of years at UNICEF focused on human development, got very involved in work addressing gender inequality, and that was sort of something that got rooted in my background early on in my career, and a passion and a commitment to do everything I could to address inequality around the world. I found my way to Wall Street and spent a number of years at companies like Merrill Lynch, Bank of New York Mellon, and specialized really in two domains, people and the planet. So the way I like to sort of think about it, it's the space that's at the intersection of both human and social development. I have a personal passion around the nexus of human development and technology. And I was really excited to be here and to join you all. I've been with MGM Resorts almost 5 years, joined them in November of 2019, based in Las Vegas. We are a physical business by and large. We own and operate about 30 resorts. We have 2 in Macau. We are a Fortune 350 company. I have a workforce of about 64,000 people. 88% of my workforce are hourly, 57% are unionized. And we're a very complicated business. We have casinos, so we are a gaming operator, but we've got 450 restaurant outlets. We have hotels. We have retail. We are in digital. We're in sports betting. And so, to answer the question around sort of the challenges, it's, this digital disruption, it's the unknown. Where is technology taking us? How do we integrate technology successfully in such a people-centric, people-driven entity? People are the heartbeat of everything, whether it is a guest room attendant who's cleaning the rooms and changing the sheets, or it's an executive chef who's designing, the next 5-course meal that they're rolling out at Prime and Bellagio. And so how technology is going to come to play in the years ahead is something that we're very intently focused on and excited about from a discovery and exploration perspective.
Great, Jyoti. That's quite a compelling journey, and mine is relatively plain compared to that. I would say I'm a career IBMer, and that itself could be boring, considering what that may imply. But I'll say a couple of things about my career, actually. And I had a chance to work with multiple parts of IBM throughout my career, but I think the best part of my experience was in 2006, IBM asked me to take a 2-year assignment to Shanghai. And my wife and I, we took off to Shanghai, and from there we went to Tokyo, back to Shanghai, Monterrey, Mexico, Singapore, Dubai, and about 13 years later, we came back to the United States. And to me, I thought it was a great experience kind of talking about the UN, and having lived and worked around the world was to kind of experience lots of different cultures, establish, teams that you develop and work with in different places around the world where you don't have the luxury of taking your same team as you go from job to job. And I think if I look back over my career, that's been one of my most exciting part of my achievements of having to work and build teams around the world. Some of them are in the room today and have gone into other companies as well. But I think, about IBM, I think most of you know IBM, but if I was to just spend a minute about the new IBM or where we are focused today, clearly under Arvind Krishna, who is our new CEO and has been there for about 4 years now, we're very much focused on 2 things. On one half, we're a technology company, and the other half of us is a service or a consulting company. And as we look at that, we're also very much focused on working with our clients on how they adopt technology around hybrid cloud and moving them and modernizing that technology landscape. The other half of our company is very much focused on how we can help clients do business better. And this is where we wrapped everything around what we do with AI, of course, automation and data supporting that. And that's been a great experience for us, as we've done a lot of things for ourselves as an enterprise that has been under tremendous change and pressure as the markets have changed in the technology world, and how we've continuously transformed. And in taking that experiences internally and then working with our clients externally as well. And so I'll be bringing that perspective to this conversation as an IBMer, and also one that works with our clients as to how they are transcending this particular part of the AI landscape.
Great. So we have two perfect candidates here, very much a people person, and your technology, data, and everything else, right? And the topic is interesting, the next wave of value creation, building a people and data-centric organization. We often don't hear people and data together. You have data and AI and so on. But let me first start with AI, because of course everything is AI today, right? So there's obviously a lot of hope for what it can achieve, but there's also a lot of fear amongst the employees of different organizations and about disruption and so on. But let's talk first about your impression of what impact you believe AI is going to have within the enterprise in the short or midterm.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tremendous. I mean, to your point at the opening, we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and this is a major inflection point in history, and I think unlike anything we've ever seen before. And it is going to be at a pace that is accelerating faster than I think we could have even imagined. And the deployment of technology, the integration of it within the walls of an enterprise is going to be absolutely critical. I'm of the view that you need to embrace it. It's here. It's a question of, how fast, how soon, and what are the applications of it within your business. I'll give you a couple of simple examples. Before COVID, MGM Resorts was a 100% in-person, on-property business. We are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our doors never shut. You were either on a property at a hotel servicing guests or in the back of the house, or you were in one of our corporate offices. Today we are now in-person, hybrid, and we have roles and jobs that are fully remote. When we came back after the pandemic, one of the things we did not anticipate were queues at the swimming pools, because guests wanted to be outside and they didn't want to be in the rooms and in the properties. So we had to quickly design an app to set up an online reservation system for people to queue at the swimming pools and get turns. This is in late 2020 into 2021. And so this adaptive nature of corporations and organizations, understanding the needs and how you begin to apply that for solutions, I think is key. Look, I'm a systems thinker, and I sort of think large-scale enterprise. And the way I think about AI and the applications are, there is a customer component to it, right, which is, who are your clients, who is it you're servicing, what are the implications of that and the customer journey and the customer experience. The second is your employees within an enterprise. So what is it you can do, and how can you leverage the technology within the enterprise to benefit and help your people, your employees? And the third is from an infrastructure perspective, right? What is it that you need to get done? What is the core infrastructure that you need within a major corporation or an organization? And how can AI help with that? So that's sort of my early take on AI.
Yeah. So, Tony, I know you're going to ask the same question, but I just want to twist a little bit. That we've been through ways where we had mobile-first enterprise, and we have the cloud-first enterprise. Are we now moving to the AI-first enterprise?
I think that change is going to keep on coming. I don't think it's going to stop with all of those waves, and there'll be more of these that come along. I think, as Jyoti said and others before, I think this is a very interesting time in business, and of course with technology intersecting each other. I don't think we can avoid it. That's the obvious statement. I think the question is going to be, how do we drive the change across the entire enterprise, entire organization? And not only within the organizations, because every enterprise deals with customers or suppliers and business networks, and they got to be part of this journey as well. So I think as we look at the potentials over here, Anupam, I think one of the key things is, how can people really adopt and adapt to change? And I think all of us on the technology side, we've all got solutions for everything. But when we talk to our clients, we talk to our internal users, it's about how fast they're willing to change. The thing that we also see with enterprise is that some are able to change a lot faster within their own ecosystem, and some have to bring an entire ecosystem around with them. And I think that's also a part of the industry that we have to do so. We're seeing disruption across the space. And as we look at enterprises, we saw this with the financial services industry coming out of the 2008 crisis. The whole fintech industry started up. We will see those types of disruptors really drive change in an enterprise or an industry ecosystem as well. So we will see change coming along in this industry. It's just going to come from many different parts of the ecosystem that an enterprise works in. And I think enterprises have to be a lot more open-minded about where to adopt and look for these changes, not only within the enterprise, but also in the ecosystem as well.
Okay.
And I think Tony makes a really important point about change. It's not just about the technology and the adaptation of it and how you're going to use it, but you have to get your people ready for it, whether that's your customers or your employees. And so the whole change management thread and building that muscle within your organizations in terms of what the change means, getting them ready, what's going to be new and different, what is it they're going to be giving up, and everything around that is really key.
Yeah, thank you, Jyoti. You just made the plug for Avasant. But AI, again, is becoming the instrument for change and transformation, right? But what are the challenges and risks in implementing AI? And also, how can you still keep the people component front and center or relevant?
Do you want to say?
So, picking up on that last thread of change, I think, we encourage our entire organization, whichever level you're in, to be actually the advocate of change. We have actually changed inside of IBM now. The typical governance has been, someone's going to decide what's good for you, and they're going to do it to you, and it's going to come down from the mountain, and all of us will then go execute on it. We've actually changed that pyramid upside down. So we've created at the grassroots level a set of principles on how can we actually have the teams that are working on issues surface things that they want to change, what's causing their irritation, what's causing friction, what's affecting their productivity. And I'll be honest, that's where the best ideas come from. The challenge that every enterprise has is how to then cultivate that, prioritize that, really put that across. Is it just a small team or set of individuals that are having that issue, or is it an enterprise-wide pervasive set of challenges? And invariably, you can kind of see the trends as teams kind of build up these types of requirements where you can look for opportunities. Actually, you could use AI to even look for some of those things as the teams surface those up themselves. So what we've done is actually create a forum where every employee can actually service this up amongst their teams or amongst their as an individual as well. We then encourage the change team or the innovation team to really take that and drive that. We are very much focused within the company to drive simplification. And with simplification, you just look for better ways of getting work done. And so that's actually been a bottoms-up view of what we've done. I think the other side of it is the pull. Our senior leaders have to be visible in this change. They cannot just write an edict and then disappear. I know this is a classic change management issue, but what we are seeing is, senior execs actually drive the behavior through of how they want to engage with you, how they want to use technology as a way of getting work done. And I think that also is a big pull. The last thing that we're going to see is that, as we see a younger generation come into the workforce, they're coming into the workforce with an AI-enabled skill set. They are going to expect that when they come to the enterprises. And if they don't see it there, they're not going to be there for long if they even make it through their interview of you as an enterprise to work for. So they're looking for that experience. I think it's upon all of us and then this, in the business world today to really set that foundation for them to come into our universe as well.
Jyoti, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just add, look, we're a publicly traded company. We've got sort of all of the core infrastructure you would expect. Enterprise risk governance, we've got risk committees, we have technology steercos and so on. I think that continues. But with anything that's new, it's the unknown, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you've got to go through use cases in order to be able to understand where are the opportunities, where are the risks, where are the potential threats, and so on. So we're approaching it like probably most other corporations. You put in the governance model, you use and test, you have your reporting and evaluation mechanisms, and you take it from there.
Okay. So Tony, data is the fuel for AI, right? So while many organizations are jumping onto AI, head first, they may not have their data estate harmonized and modernized. So how do you advise or how do you help companies become more data-centric, more data-driven, which is really a prerequisite for leveraging the power of AI?
I think when I talk to clients and we look at what we did inside of IBM as well, there's a fundamental question that gets asked as to who's accountable for data. And there's always two answers to it. There's always a technology side of it, and then there's the business side of it. And invariably, if the business side doesn't step up and say they own the data, no matter how the technology side puts it together, I think we've got a first challenge within an enterprise. So I think data, custody of data is an important part of this whole narrative within enterprises. But it can be a very daunting task to clients to try and get all of the data sets together. But what we've seen more successful has been looking at targeted use cases. If we know what we're trying to solve, then how can we get the data there to solve it? What application sets are needed there? And that's the first part of which we go through. The second part about it is then how do we enrich data within what you have within your enterprises? How do you ensure that you have the security and the intellectual property rights around that data? But then how do you also complement external data sets to make that experience that you're trying to give to your internal stakeholders, internal employees, or even customers a much different and richer experience? So we do look at data as an incremental set of capabilities that you build, but our perspective has been that if you start for what are you trying to solve for, and then tackle what data sets are needed to solve for those outcomes, you get there a lot faster than kind of getting to a theoretical debate about the right data sets, the right data standards, the right data protocol, all of which are highly important, but may not get you to your actual outcome in a most expedient or even cost-effective way.
Okay. So to you, I think maybe you can help define what we mean by a people-centric enterprise and how people can become the driver for growth, value within an organization. And what are some of your people strategies?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question and the chance to tell you a little bit about my thinking and philosophy on this. I was inspired a few years ago by a terrific book called Talent Wins that was co-authored by Dominic Barton and a couple of other leaders on the topic of human capital. And one of the themes of the book is a premise that I've sort of carried forward with me, which is this notion of thinking about your people, your human capital, in the same way that you do your financial capital. And people are an asset on the balance sheet, and adopting sort of a philosophy where you're weighting your people strategies and your people work and your people data just as you do your financial data. And it's a big pivot, certainly for corporate America, because that's not how we think, that's not how we look at the balance sheet or the income statement, et cetera. And so one of the things we've done at MGM is really sort of espouse this philosophy around people, and that people matter. People are as important to us as our financial capital. From a people strategy perspective, we have 4 core pillars that underpin our people strategy at MGM Resorts. It's about the development of talent and investing in our people, number 1. Number 2, it's about succession planning that really gets to the notion of your talent pipeline from the lower levels of the organization all the way to the top. The 3rd is advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the 4th is the employee experience and culture. And I wanted to spend a minute, if I may, Anupam, on this topic of culture, because this really is the heartbeat of an enterprise. And I think often, and again, particularly in corporate America, there isn't enough weight, emphasis, consideration given to culture. Our leadership team at MGM, under our CEO, Bill Hornbuckle, in the summer of 2020, so think about this for a minute, as the pandemic is surging and on the rise, made a commitment to our board and to our leadership team that we were going to focus and double down on our culture. We had put chains on the locks of the casino doors and the hotels for the first time in history. We went dark. Every one of our properties on the Strip was dark for a matter of several weeks. Never had happened before. And in that darkness, we made, as a management team, a decision that we were going to focus on our culture. And so the way we did that was to, number 1, we did both a quantitative, qualitative assessment of our culture. We went and talked to our people to understand how did they feel about our culture, what mattered to them. We looked at about 150 plus artifacts historically. MGM is a company that has endured and gone through incredible hardships. We had a mass shooting in 2017. We've had fires. We've had, you name it. And we took all of that and we used that to build the foundation for our future. We refreshed our values. We developed a cultural framework. And when we did our employee engagement survey in 2022, in the aftermath of that work, the results were off the charts. We had 70% participation. Almost all of our indices, with one exception, were up mostly by double digits. And the one that went down only went down by 0.5%. And what that told us was that something landed, right, in the work that we were doing, in the articulation about our culture, and demonstrating caring and empathy. And part of it was creating a culture of well-being, of caring, of showing and talking to your people about what matters, and lastly, recognition. This is a really important part of your people strategy and your cultural strategy, which is recognizing people in a way that matters to them. So for example, at MGM last year, we introduced a service recognition based on years of service, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and we issued pins. And last year alone, we gave out 38,000 pins. This is out of 64,000 people. You walk around any of our hotels, Bellagio, Aria, Delano, Mandalay Bay, our people are wearing their pins and they wear it with pride. It matters to them. And so I would leave you with this thought that as you think about your people strategies and you think about your organizations and the impact, think about culture and the cultural strands and the linkage of that to your human capital and the link to that to your financial capital.
Right. So Tony, how is AI changing the way you manage people and culture in an organization?
You know, when AI and all of the hype, the promise or the threat or the fear, as you said earlier, about what it's going to do for jobs and what does it do for the employee and morale, that was a serious consideration on two fronts, right? Inside of IBM as an enterprise, what do we do about it? And the business that I'm in, you know, we service a lot of our clients, you know, leveraging a lot of high skill, but lots of young employees, and they're doing relatively, you know, a lot of transactional work as well. So both ends of them have a significant impact of what AI could do for them. Now, inside of IBM, you know, IBM has its AI platform. It's now called Watson X, and so it's been around for a while. But, you know, when generative AI was coming about, we were all starting to figure out what this truly meant. And about a year ago, Arvind decided we were going to have a Watson X challenge. Every employee across IBM, we're about 209,000 strong, was kind of encouraged to go create a team and learn about Watson X. And we put a week in the middle of the summer and says, this is when we're all going to set up a challenge, and each of us is going to go work on something. None of us really knew what we were doing. We were all trying to figure out what it was. We were all playing around with ChatGPT on the outside and figuring out what Watson X did on the inside. It created a buzz. You know, I as an IBM also started to understand what this thing truly meant and what the power could be. But I think, you know, all of us are in leadership roles wherever we are in our enterprises or our companies. I think if you understand what the power of these things are and you yourself buy into it, you can fundamentally make change. For the employee base, you know, they started to see how their world could be different too. They started to understand, okay, what does this really mean and how do I really embrace it? And look, we're in a business that, you know, throughout history, whether it was the Industrial Revolution till today, technology will always kind of be a threat to the current ways of working. I think human society has to figure out how do they adopt this and make it part of their life going forward. And I think the more we're able to get it into the hands of our teams, to understand what this is and to harness that power, enterprises themselves will be much stronger for it. And I think employees will embrace it and actually be part of the change versus being threatened about the change. I think if you give your employee base an opportunity to learn these technologies, they have a choice. They have a choice to learn it and to figure out how they make their job better, or they have a choice to stay in the old ways and figure out what they want to do with their life. It's a harsh comment, but it's the reality of the world that we live in. Now, for the employee base that is in my part of the service that I deliver to our clients, a big concern, right? Is this going to be the end of my job? What do they want to do? Very interestingly, and especially those that joined IBM, they did not join IBM to do mundane tasks. They joined us to kind of learn new technology and new ways of working. And they were the most excited about this type of technology. They're the ones pushing us and our leadership team to say, how can we go faster? How can these use cases work better? And in many ways, the fact that we are a technology company and a services company wrapped around each other, they are pushing our technology companies with a ton of technology that can help their work go better. So we see excitement. Clearly, there's fear. We all have to cross that path as we go with it. But I do think, getting everybody on your team and your organization to better understand what these technologies can do is a massive step way to kind of all of us going across this journey together.
Yeah, and if I can just build on that, it's very serendipitous because I was having an HR offsite with my senior HR leadership team about a month ago, and we decided to focus on the topic of generative AI, and I had IBM come in and show us what they were doing within the walls of their own organization. We got a demo of, for example, their Ask HR capability and how they're using intelligence to provide HR shared services for routine transactional types of tasks. It's incredibly exciting, and I think the more you can expose your teams and your people or your client groups to that, and just give them a feel for what's happening, and to your point, just engage them with it, the more ideation and the more you're going to find pragmatic applications within your use cases for your companies.
Experiential engagement, that's the phrase I've been using.
Yes.
Yeah. So at Avasant, we've also been a long-time believer in using technology to enable people in terms of productivity, engagement, but also to institutionalize culture. And we've done the same with AI as well. We're one of the first companies to roll out Copilot across the entire company and asking everyone to use it actively in their day-to-day jobs. So, in other words, technology and culture don't have to be opposing poles. Yeah. They don't have to be, mutually exclusive. So, parting thoughts, I think we're coming to a close here. So the biggest challenge of running a business today, and we talked about some of the unforeseen disruptions, whether it's economic market disruption or climate risk or geopolitical, the biggest challenge is that businesses face is how do you continue to survive through those and grow and thrive, right? So in your opinion, what are some of the most important attributes for someone to continue to grow the business in a sustainable way and drive more value?
I mean, I would say in a simple word, curiosity. Get your leaders and your managers and your people to be curious about the world that is emerging. I mean, I love the term that you use, this digital genie and digital species. It is...
that was Microsoft AI CEO, not my term,
but the digital genie was, I think, yours, right? Yeah. So, we're opening the bottle and letting the genie out and encourage your people to be curious. Like, what is this going to mean? How can I play with it? How can I use it? How can I bring it in? How can I test it, prototype it, etc.? And so that's, I think, probably one of the most important attributes.
I would say that I think this is an opportune time for all of us to be provocative. We can probably make the mistake of what all of us did when automation was a rage, and all of us tried to do that a little bit differently, and what we really did was just do the same task just a little faster maybe. But I think with AI and generative AI, I think we have an opportunity to just reimagine maybe what gets done. And I think this is where we are going to be challenged. There'll be a lot of resistance, because people like to do it the old-fashioned way, the old way, that's the way it was done before, and why should we change? But I think organizations have an opportunity to be disruptive and to really reimagine the way work gets done. I think that's the exciting part that's ahead for us here.
Right, so the moral of the story is technology is all around us, AI is everywhere, but people are still the heart of any organization. And the way to drive value is to bring together technology, people, data, and of course process to drive value.
People are the heartbeat of any enterprise.
So without people,
I don't see that going away.
You're right. I don't think that's going away for sure. It's going to get better for sure.
All right. Well, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Thank you.
Great.